This is the Genius support class, and thank you so much for being part of our community. The Genius Insight is a biofeedback tool that helps you to connect with the energy field of yourself or your client or someone in your family or companion animal. And the best way to use the Genius is to learn about it from us through our training and also connect with your intuition. So I really highly encourage you today and always to bring your intuition in as part of your relationship to the Genius. This is a quantum field technology, so a lot happens beyond what is actually on the screen. And it's really important that we don't think of the Genius as a diagnostic tool, but an adjunct tool, a tool that we can use and look at the patterns and read between the lines and put the pieces together, but nothing that we depend on solely, certainly as a diagnostic, and that's really, really important. You guys, I have some really important information here for you, so if you're doing other things, then go ahead and put those away for now, because we need to talk about some of the updates that are happening. So let's just try to change the view here. And again, welcome everyone. Remember that all of this is recorded, and I post it to my website, awakentotalhealth.com, and I also post it to YouTube. Now, first of all, we're going to be having, for the people who use Apple devices, we're going to be having iOS 11. iOS stands for the operating software on your Apple device, like an iPad or an iPhone. So it's really important that you pay attention to the updates that Ryan is sending by email, that being the developer of the Genius Insight, because there are going to be some big updates required for the Genius to speak or communicate with iOS 11. And when you see the update for iOS 11, you probably don't want to update right away. iOS is the operating software on your device. The operating software on your app or your Genius is something that starts with a 7 right now. So 7.3, we're now on 7.31, and that brings me to my other point, is that you want to make sure you've updated your Genius today. It should be on 7.31. So in order for you to have good functioning of your Genius, it needs to stay updated, and usually we try to update the operating software of our device every time a new update comes out, except for iOS 11, you'll want to wait until you get the green light from Ryan that it's okay to jump in the water and communicate with iOS 11. That's certainly up to you. It's your device, so you can update it whenever you want to. These are just recommendations from Ryan. Now, he put out an email over the weekend, and my feeling is it probably would have been easy to miss this. So let's go to your email and make sure you read the email that says important Android and Apple software update. For those of you who use an Apple device like an iPad or an iPhone, you need to update for some minor changes. However, I'm finding that more and more of the users today are using Android devices. An Android device is one that is not an Apple device. If you're not using an iPhone, an iPad, an iPad mini, then by default you have an Android device, because that's the only other platform that we run on. If you have an Android device, you really want to go back and read this email. Okay? Android released in a new encryption software update. Because of this major update, you have to delete the Genius app and then reinstall the new updates. We also have corrected many bugs, which is good because there's so many different Android versions, there was some instability. Step 1, back up your Genius. Open your Genius, go to System Overview, and select the Navigation tab. That's the 3 horizontal lines at the top right of your screen. go to the settings and select Sync Database. So let's go in and do this. This is also really important to do every once in a while when things aren't working correctly or you don't have your clients available or something has happened. You can sync the database. So let's look at how to do that. So we go in, we just choose a random client. We're just going to skip the voice and skip the picture, and we just cancel. Go to the upper right here. That's the navigation bar. So you guys, this right here, let's get the highlighter, is your navigation bar. There we go, right there. Then we go down here and we go to accessories, I think it is. Nope, it's not accessories. What is it? Oh gosh, go to settings, right? Shouldn't be really super intuitive. All right, so go to the settings and then go to the Genie Cloud. Why is it called the Genie instead of the Genius Cloud? I don't know. Go to the cloud and then go to Sync the Database. Now this is going to sync my database, which is what you need to do. You're going to back everything up so that it's saved to the cloud. Then you're going to, now I'm not going to do it on mine because I don't have an Android device right here. Delete the Genius. Click on your device settings, then apps, then Genius, then uninstall. Install the new Genius and download the update here. So you have to access it from this email inside your device. Log in and restore the database. Open the Genius app and restore your database from client records, page top right. Oh my God. Page top right and semicolon option. All right, so let's just try to translate that into English. All right, so anytime you log back into your system, you're going to need to sync your device. This is something important for everyone, and I'd say at least once a day I get questions about this. So the other way to sync your device, and what you'll have to do when you log back in, let's see if it appeared here. I don't know why I think it's after you actually download it again. So let's do it so that right now everything is backed up. You don't need to do anything. And in fact, that's a great way to try to restore any lost clients. But typically, if you come into your device and you notice you don't have clients or you don't have my libraries, then you probably need to do the following. So let's go over it together. Let's say that you go into your device and you don't have your client list or you don't have any of your libraries. Then you want to do this. You go up here, remember you just choose a client. You go inside the program and then you go here and then you're going to log out. So you have to go all the way to the bottom and then you log out. Now most people don't remember their password, and that's fine because often it's computer generated. I'll show you how you can change your password. So you just choose forgot password and then you enter in, again I don't know why this doesn't have an overwrite, but you have to backspace, and you go Ariel at whatever your email is. And this is pretty good. The server is pretty fast, so it does actually generate a password pretty quickly. So Ariel at Awaken Total. Nope, I missed. You have to really be an eagle eye to get into this little tiny box here. Okay, so then you send for a password. So hopefully you guys really pay attention to this. Really, this is one of the most common questions that I get probably daily. All right, so let's go here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to copy, and then we're going to paste in that password here. Except maybe it's not going to let me paste it here. Oh, I know why, because I'm trying to paste it in on the view. All right, so I have to look it up. I don't have that email address. I have to actually type it in. So let me just say a few more things that I want to talk to you about. We're going to talk to you today about the nerve assessment panel. It's been really revolutionary, and I want to demonstrate it and show you how you use the guide as well. So the nerves of the body bring energy flow to the body, and they will actually really help with any particular condition that you happen to be working on. So if you're working on, say, reproductive issues using things like the ovarian plexus or the pudendal nerve could be really, really powerful. Okay, so now we basically signed back in. When you sign in on any platform, you'll now be able to go up here. If you ever lose your clients or your libraries, you need to do this, so you need to know about it. You might want to go back and watch this video again later today. So go ahead and then, or when it gets posted, you're going to sync or tap right here. Get that highlighter again. And then you tap right here and you go user records. You're going to tap right there. Then you're going to tap on user libraries. This is going to take a little while if you have a lot of libraries, so that could take a little while. Then you go to master branch. It usually goes pretty quickly, and then individual client libraries usually goes pretty quickly. So that's how you make sure that you have everything restored. It is really nice if you have a couple of licenses. So if you have a second license, you have it typically associated with the same email, and this will help all of the devices sync up to your client records. So if you entered a client on one device, they'll now be available on all the devices. So this is really, really helpful. And the other thing is, you know, you guys, you can never lose your libraries. So you can always resync and get them back. We did have a really, you know, just a heck of a painful time with the prior version, the Infinity, and people right and left losing their categories and being upset because they lost their files, and absolutely reasonably so. And that is why I've urged people to switch over to the Genius and use the Genius exclusively, because you can't lose them. They'll always be available, even if you get a new device. If your device blows up, if you lose it, if somebody takes it, all of it is completely retrievable, and we can shut down a device at any time. We can deactivate it. Now, if you wanted to go into your Genius and you wanted to change your password, I believe you just go up to settings, and no, why would it be in settings? It's just down here in change password. So you do have to have the old password, type it in, and then you can change it to a new password. So if you'd like to personalize it for yourself and put in your own password, then that's the way to do it. So please go back and watch this video. Please, I'll post it today. Please remember how to sync your device. It is the #1 asked question that I get in my email. I lost my client records, or I lost my libraries. They're not, you don't really truly lose them. So now is a good time if you'd like to volunteer for today. If you haven't ever volunteered before and you would like to, send me your date of birth, and I'll see if we have time to do an analysis. This is a good way to go through some of the things like the nerve assessment panel. Suzanne, if you didn't get an email, then I'm not the producer of those emails. I don't send the email, so if you're not getting the emails, then please contact Insight Health Apps and go ahead and tell them you're not on the mailing list, and have them send the email to you. If any of you didn't get that email, then go ahead and send an email to rw@quantumhealthapps.com and ask to be added to the mailing list. you know, all I'm really trying to do here, you guys, is fill in the gaps where we maybe are missing some people. I really was concerned that since that email was sent over on a weekend that a lot of people didn't pick it up. But it is vitally important if you're not receiving emails from Insight Health apps, you really want to make sure you get on that list because there's often technical support explained in those emails, and you want to make sure you open each and every email if it seems to have something to do with the functioning of the Genius. So if it says something like an update or a change or important notice, then it's really important to look at those. Okay, so the nerve assessment guide, and Candy will probably get to you, Candy H, in just a moment. So maybe check to see if you have any kind of a microphone that we can communicate with you. That'd be awesome. So I want to talk to you about the nerves and how important the nerve assessment guide, the nerve assessment panel is. And we're going to demonstrate it with Candy in just a moment. So we have a custom library about nerves, and I'm really suggesting that people utilize this with every client. And in the nerve assessment guide, it's really about flowing energy. Your nerves carry electrical impulses to the different organs. So you have a big nerve processing center up in your brain, and then from the brain we run lots of electrical wires down your spine, and those electrical wires then go out through the openings in the vertebral column, and they bring messages and impulses to all the different organs, glands, and muscles of the body. And there are nerves that come directly from the brain and go to your eyes, your mouth, your eye muscles, and so forth, the skin. And those are the cranial nerves. And I'm going to be adding a separate panel actually just on the cranial nerves. They're so important to neurological function. But they are actually in the this particular nerve panel already. So Christopher says, anybody in New England, your chats don't actually go out to the whole group, Christopher, but good question. Anyone in New England willing to sit down with me and share your knowledge if you are good with the Genius, as I'm new and would appreciate some one-on-one? Christopher Allen, DC. So good on you, Christopher. What I recommend that people do is that they actually post that in the Facebook group. So if you are, we have a couple of different Facebook groups for the Genius, and if you don't have those links, I can send them to you, Christopher. That's actually your best way of connecting with other users. And I would recommend perhaps offering something for people to sit down with you and explain the Genius. So we pay our trainers $45 an hour. If you're interested in becoming a trainer, then email me and let me know, and maybe we can find one in your area. And if somebody just wants to sit down with you for a cup of coffee and just a professional exchange, totally understand that, and hopefully you can find somebody through the Facebook group. That's what I recommended to someone the other day. If Phyllis, I don't think you're on with us, but if you're in the Louisville, Kentucky area and you can sit down with Phyllis and help her, then certainly let us know in that Facebook group, and other people are welcome to do that as well. Okay, so these nerves are really important, and here you can actually go in and find out why you would want to use these particular nerves. For example, the esophageal plexus is really good when you're trying to deal with something related to the thyroid, or you're trying to deal with something related to digestion, because these nerves are connected to this area. So if you want to know what all the different nerves are, why they're coming up, they're explained in the guide. And like as I mentioned before, the ovarian plexus leading to the ovaries, and the uterus being a great way to deal with reproductive issues, hormonal issues. So let's now go to a session, and we'll come back to this guide. And let's go ahead in here. All right. All right, so let's turn off the camera for just 1 second and get Candy's information here. That's Candy H. And Candy, if you can find your microphone somewhere so that we can connect voice-wise, that'd be great. And if not, then we usually just improvise from there. And anyone else who wants to volunteer, go ahead and put your date of birth down in the question box, and we can go from there. All right, so I think we've got that correct. And we can now turn the camera back on. Let's see if we go to our people who are here. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, people who have joined us during the hour. Thanks so much. Okay, Candy, see if you can unmute yourself. And okay, wonderful. Okay, hey, Candy, how are you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good.
So, what would you like to work on today, or what would you like us to pay close attention to, if anything?
Left thumb is hurting me.
Out of all the things going on, you want us to work on your left thumb. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's...
And grief.
Okay.
I lost my best friend, my dog of 15 years just a couple weeks ago.
I'm very sorry to hear that. I have companion animals too, and I know I've lost a couple of them, how deep that is. I'm so very, very sorry to hear that.
Okay, thank you.
Let's get your voice, and I'll cue you, and we'll just have you say your name and then say A-E-I-O-U for as long as you see the seconds counting on your screen. Okay, so I'll start recording in 3, 2, 1. I'm recording.
Candy Harrison, A-E-I-O-U. A-E-I-O-U. Candy Harrison, A-E-I-O-U. A-E-I-O-U.
Okay. Okay, perfect, Candy. Yeah, sometimes you don't see it on the screen. It's a little bit of lag. Okay, Candy, perfect. We'll come back to you in just a little bit, okay?
Good.
Okay. All right. And thanks so much for volunteering. I appreciate it. Okay, so let's go from here. Oh, it seems like a really long analysis time today. Okay, so we're going to skip the picture and we're going to do our analysis. And what I wanted to say was that 15 seconds sometimes seems like a really long time. And the 15 seconds of voice is amazing. As you're talking, it is so fast. It's picking up really a lot of patterns in your voice. And it's actually just getting all of that information and collecting it. So it can actually figure out a lot in a really short amount of time. So when we first look at the screens, what we want to do is, I want you to do actually over the next week is really engage your intuition. So even bring in your guides or your angels or your whatever you call your intuitive part of yourself and say, I'm now working in partnership with the genius and my own gut feeling, my own intuition. Intuition, and when you connect directly with your own consciousness, it's all knowing. The genius is just a vehicle to tap into your all-knowing consciousness. So you can bring yourself even more, invite that part of you that is the mirror for the genius, that is actually the genius itself within you. And if you guys work in partnership, you're going to find yourself understanding a lot more than you ever believed you could about what's going on with someone. I think that the training that we're going to have coming up in the next few months is going to deeply enhance that. We're actually going to be doing specific classes about working with the intuition and the genius in a very intentional way. And this is going to take place first about intuitive eating and intuitive, there's been so much information about what to eat out there, you guys, and it certainly can be confusing. I think it's the cosmic giggle of the universe What we really have to come around to is what you know is the right food for you at the right time. And so we're going to deeply combine the intuitive information from ourselves with the readings that we get on the Genius, and then just talk about nutrition in general, what we know. Because you have to sort of pick and choose from what we know cognitively to what works best for you. And I actually believe, after over 2 decades of trying to figure this out, that it's person-centric, and you awakening your intuition and becoming more reliant on that is the best way that you can sustain good, balanced nutrition over a lifetime. So intuition is the centering force for everything, for all types of healing and wellness. So bringing that in, and then just looking at the Genius and saying, okay, body systems. Okay, so let's include the umbrella of body systems because it's in red, and let's look at what else is coming up. Spinal energy is sort of borderline. Let's include that. She's got grief, so nervous system stuff. She has something going on with the thumb. That definitely could be stemming from the neck down through the spinal nerves and into the hand. So that could be it too. Chemical sensitivities, minerals. I feel like we're on Jeopardy. We're choosing the Jeopardy categories here. Glands, amino acids. So what is interesting about that? So there's some nutritional things. Even if you don't know anything, you guys, just start to say, like, what's interesting about this pattern? Is there any way that this pattern could fit together? Well, chemical sensitivities and minerals. I happen to know from my training that if you have chemical sensitivities, you might deplete a lot of minerals in the body. So that's interesting. Amino acids, it's also in order to clear, let's just say chemical sensitivities is solvents, like from paints. In order to clear chemical sensitivities, you need lots of glutathione. Glutathione is comprised of 3 amino acids, including cysteine, glutamine, and glycine, which make up the glutathione molecule. So isn't that interesting that amino acids are out of balance? But again, you don't need to know any of this. You can just be asking your intuition and putting in the reds and the blues initially into the balancing tray. We'll include all of these. Anything that's in red and blue, that's a global category. Here we include that as an umbrella. So it does include all the frequencies of what is within the category. So then we can decide what we want to test in addition. So I think body systems would be an important one, but we don't have to test everything in red and blue. These are just suggestions. Okay, so something in the skeletal system, there we go, there's that thumb, you know, perhaps something in the reproductive system, that could be like hormonal, lymphatic, having to do with the immune system, or maybe not just really moving the lymphatics enough, muscular, urinary, digestive, integumentary. I include all of those, not circulatory, although it went in anyway. It's fine to keep it there. So you can throw in as many categories as you want, you guys, because this all gets worked out in the next screen, which is Progressive Insights. So I'm just going, oh, this is interesting, all the way up to about 150. This is interesting, this is interesting, this is interesting. And I'm just sort of gathering information so I can put the pieces together. Spinal energy, that's important because she's got that thumb thing going on. And the C1 really makes sense because the neck is very connected to the nerves, actually flow out from the neck, go down the arm. So anything having to do with, I mean, unless she took a hammer and like hit her thumb with it and that's why it's painful, anything, any irritation or, you know, in the hand, in the wrist, in the shoulder could be coming from issues with the neck. L1, now when you have things in the neck, then we tend to compensate in the lower back. So you may see neck and lower back stuff. Then we go down to see if there's anything in blue, and we want to include that lower back, neck, but a different part of the neck. Okay, well, we don't know everything there. Then I always like to do today's stress. Take a look at that. There's that lymphatic again. You always see things echoed, and you see the acidity here. So lots of stretching, walking. If you use the Beamer mat, the BEMER mat would be good for this. I use mine every day and every night. Acidity, so getting more greens and getting some alkalization into the body would be really good. Viruses, sensitivities, blood sugar. I'll go all the way up to 150 kidneys. Okay, all of that, just kind of thinking about it. Isn't that interesting? Then we would definitely want to include emotions. So I tend to include emotions, in many, many of my sessions. Sorry, I'm just going back and forth here. Biofield and then mind. The emotions are here, and I would absolutely, you guys know, of course, I would include those Bach flower essences. All right, so now all of these may not be spot on, you guys. Don't take the emotions so literally, because the emotions represent frequencies, and maybe we're not putting the right word with the right frequency. There's a lot going on in the subconscious mind. We don't know all about it, yet these are the places where we're blocked, and we're choosing blockages, right? We're choosing the areas of blockage in order to open them up and provide or create energy flow, harmony flow. So it doesn't really matter what the words are. The important thing is to open up the energy. And then I like to use those Bach flower essences. So remember to utilize those as well. Now we're going to bring in a couple of other things. Okay, so let's get those in there, and then we would go down, we'd get the ones in blue. You see a lot of these essences want to come and play with candy, so we want to include as many, maybe even all the way up to 150. So just get those in there. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. Now, let's go to the custom libraries, and we're going to add particular ones to her client records. And let's add the nerve assessment panel. And let's also add maybe, she's not really depressed, but I think there could be some things in here that could be helpful. So let's add that. And that's really about it. I've been working on this bone panel. Anatomy of the arm, so let's work on that one. Let's see what comes up here. So now we go down to the libraries, and we have those in here. You can get 10 libraries for $149, or you could get 10 libraries a month for $77 a month with my subscription plan. All right, so let's go into, we just put that in the tray, but let's go into the nerve assessment panel and see if there's anything interesting here. So we've got the vestibular nerve. I'm not going to go through all of these. We'll go through a certain selection of them. The axillary nerve is interesting because that goes right through the shoulder. The ethmoidal nerve, which is has to do with the face. The obturator nerve, that's more in the hip area. Lacrimal cord is in the shoulder. Chorda tympani, that's in the ear. Ulnar nerve, again, arm. So a lot of arm stuff comes up, really interesting. There could be a heck of a lot of nerves going on in there. The lumbar plexus, again, stuff in the, that could be the lower back. Ovarian plexus, we saw the, well, we saw lymphatic stuff. We didn't really see hormonal stuff. Esophageal plexus, digestion. Gastral plexus, digestion. Lateral cord. Did I have lateral cord in there twice? I have to go check that. And that has to, is it up here too? It has to do with the shoulder, the lacrimal cord. Okay, so let's look at some of these in particular. So let's switch this. And then what you get with the nerve assessment panel is actually the guide. So the guide is really important because you can go to the guide and then look at what's up for that person. So the vestibular nerve is kind of interesting. Again, this doesn't have to be every person is going to have this stuff going on for them. but it's always just interesting to sort of put the pieces together, and that's what you are. You as a biofeedback practitioner are a detective putting the pieces together. You're not just like a button operator. A good practitioner doesn't have to have a naturopathic degree, but is asking to put the pieces together. The vestibular nerve is the 8th cranial nerve, transmits sound and equilibrium information in the inner ear and brain. They say that most people over 50 begin to lose their ability to have good balance. The reason is that we don't challenge this enough through things like, if you've heard of the 5 Tibetan rites of longevity, they do the spinning in that every day, and that will challenge and strengthen the vestibular nerve, as will yoga postures or any postures that intentionally work on balance. So, you know, part of the problem is that as a typical Westerner, we're just not really given those ancient tools to really work on the things until they become problematic. So as I was mentioning, the axillary nerve, sorry, I'm just having a little trouble coordinating both of these at the same time here. Just go up to the axillary nerve here. So this is a branch of the brachial plexus and supplies the motor nerves and sensory nerves around the shoulder. But it also leads to nerve energy down into the arm and into the hand. So that could definitely be related to what's going on. And then the same thing for some of the other ones that we've included. So you can read about all of these, and then really it helps you to put the pieces together. Let's go into progressive insights, where let's see if any of these nerves come up at the top. So now we have a really good number in progressive insights, and this is a really good opportunity to get a really, really good idea of what's going on. Now here's the grief, because these are the strongest algorithms telling us what is going on with the person at the particular time. Let's just, so it's interesting that the facial nerve comes up. Now the facial nerve is really not going to be related at all to that thumb issue, but there are a lot of nerves coming up in that sort of general area, although the vestibular nerve is really different from the facial nerve. They're both cranial nerves, so they both come directly from the brain. So there might be like some brain support that's really necessary here. The facial nerve controls the muscles of facial expression and functions and conveyance of taste sensations in the front 2/3 of the tongue and the oral cavities. Any issue with taste can be worked on with the facial nerve. But facial expressions, you know, there's a whole sort of download about strengthening the brain through doing the different functions that the cranial nerves do, like even just puffing out your cheeks, right, can help to activate that facial nerve. So there's some other emotions telling us that there's a very emotional component to all of this. So definitely an emotional clearing through doing this will be really, really powerful. And you can see how many of these come up as high. That's really the only nerve I think that's coming up here, the long thoracic nerve. So the long thoracic nerve, again, another one related to the back, and so could be connected to that issue. But people are having pretty amazing results. So this is one of those things like emotions that can really make a difference in your balancing. The long thoracic nerve supplies the serratus anterior muscle. You guys, if you go sort of like to put your arm underneath your armpit, and then you go down a little bit and you feel your rib cage just above where you actually feel your ribs, that's around the area where serratus anterior is. And it's a muscle, if we sit or we have poor posture, it does get affected a lot. So it'd be easy to compress that nerve, and that may be also affecting the shoulder area. The nerve characteristically arises from the anterior, I have to change this, it should be the anterior portion of the 3 spinal nerve roots. If there are any issues with the neck, the shoulder, the chest, or even the breast area, consider the long thoracic nerve. All right, let's switch the view for a second here because I want to look something up, and go here. All right, so Now let's go to this one particular flower essence, which is hornbeam. Now hornbeam came up all the way at the top. And you can go to my mastery guide, and in the mastery guide it does talk about what is in what hornbeam means, and all of the different screens are defined, except for my custom libraries, in that mastery guide, which you can get on my website, awakentotalhealth.com. You can get the physical version, you can get the electronic version, and if you order the physical hard copy, it comes with the e-version as well, so you can get it anywhere you are. Hornbeam is used against feelings of exhaustion and tiredness that come before an effort has been made. The person in this state feels weary when he looks forward to the demands of the day. It's easier to stay in bed, put off making a start, or find other things to do. But if an effort can be made to get started, the weariness will phase. And the tiredness is wholly in the mind and can be traced to actual events in the real world. So that's really good. And it's good to read that to your client if they're open to it, because a clearing happens in their cognitive awareness of the issue. Oh, now I understand what's going on. And if we were clairvoyant and could look at their energy field, we would certainly start to see a lot of that clearing out. All right, so I think here it just makes sense. Let's just select all. There are just so many that are high and we're tight for time. And then we would balance her for some period of time. Again, I really recommend that the short time period where you're doing it for about 3 minutes and then retesting, because it will tell the story in layers. You'll find out more information once you clear the superficial. I'm only doing 1 minute of balancing here because we're tight for time. So let's go back to Candy and see if any of this resonated for her. Hi, Candy.
Yes. Okay, so yes, I get up in the morning and I feel overwhelmed, like I can't go and do things. So the hornbeam really was right on. And then when I get busy, then I feel more activated. So that was interesting. I have been having some tinnitus, and so I think the vestibular picked that up. That's been going on for 4 or 5, 6 months, which is real unusual for me. So I've been hoping to work on getting that done. Because of a prior brain tumor, I have some asymmetry of my face because of the surgical procedure, and so I thought that was kind of interesting. I brought out there's some facial work there that I don't know whether that's going to be corrected to fix up the hole in my right side over my right
Wow, that's
temporal
so
lobe.
interesting. I mean, wow, that's really, thank you for giving us feedback, because that's absolutely amazing that the hornbeam and the facial nerve, have come up at the top there of that priority with those really strong algorithms. I mean, that knocks my socks off to get that kind of really profound feedback. And I think, when you can get that work with that nerve assessment panel at some time in the future, or even enter a few nerves of your own, I think that could be really powerful just to get that feedback. It tells you, keep working on it until it doesn't come up as a high priority. And it's very likely that there is some shift occurring. Not you in particular, but we as human beings always want to see the instant gratification of some type of change. But you don't know. It may be working on a subtle nerve, like even you just getting the visceral feedback today that the facial nerve is still something that requires some support. You are even sending your own energy in that moment to the facial nerve to create and restore balance, which is very, very powerful. So that's really, really cool stuff.
Yeah, every time I take a photo of myself for my own work, then I'm so aware of the fact that I have this asymmetry that's fairly acute. And I said, gee, I wish I could get a better even smile.
Yeah, I would
So
keep working this facial nerve thing.
yeah, I'll have
So
to get
yeah.
that library. So yeah, otherwise, thank you.
Yeah,
So
good work. Keep up the balancing. Now, since I have you on live here, did you have a particular question or anything you want me to clarify about the genius?
yes, on the right side, of there's that yellow line that goes up and down when you're in the mat. Yes. And what does that do? You know, where the yellow where it says 307?
What is it that you're asking about? The yellow line that
Yeah,
goes up and down?
yeah, no, the yellow ball there. What does that have to do with the program?
Oh, okay. That yellow ball is actually just a timer, and it's a little bit of a legacy. It actually really isn't necessary for it to be there anymore, because now we have the timer inside the Progressive Insight. So it's
Right.
actually
Okay.
here, but at one time, and in fact, if you wanted to adjust it, now I'm wondering, that's only 8 minutes though. Um,
Yeah, but you can move it up and down, but it doesn't do anything. You know,
oh, that is so weird. Oh, I get it. I'm going the wrong direction. Yeah, what that actually is I thought it was the timer for Progressive Insights, but maybe it's the timer for the MEP. I'm going to have to investigate that. I thought it was synchronized with the timer here. It
no,
could
it's
be,
not.
yeah, it must be the timer for the MEP. We'll have to go look at that, and probably a bunch of people are answering right now what it is. Okay, good question, Kenny. Anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, well, it's been a delight to have you with us today, and thank you so much for volunteering.
Sure. Thank you. Anytime.
Okay, Candy. All right,
Bye.
that was a really, really cool session. I did want to just actually, I didn't realize we got 80 items in there, which there's nothing wrong with that. That's a perfectly wonderful amount of things to have in there. Even at 80, there's still the algorithms that say there's some level of probability that they're important, making them worthy of being inside the Progressive Insights. And then once we've balanced for between 1 and 3 minutes, especially with so much awareness, especially with her active engagement, she's firing off clearing from within herself. You know, she's clear, clear, clear. Like she has that understanding, acknowledgement. All of those things, you guys, are very, very relevant for a person to clear and heal themselves. So then we have the ventral ramus, the lymphatic, the long thoracic nerve, the accessory obturator. Level of surprise, she may have been surprised to see those things. Holly, which is probably an important one. And we can either select all, or we can read all of those to our client. We're, like I said, short for time. And if we just kind of curious now, so you're in that way, you're in an active engagement with your client. You're definitely a part of them sort of triggering their ability to heal themselves. When I was in my first year of naturopathic school, we talked about the different models of how doctors interact with their patients. And one thing that really surprised me was that doctors historically, you know, over the past couple thousand years, have engaged with their patients in the heroic model, which means that often the doctor thinks that they are going to heal the patient. And this is one that really caught my ear early on in my naturopathic career, which is that I didn't really want to be that heroic healer, because my feeling is it takes away from that person's ability to heal themselves and the revelation of the truth, which is that they can heal themselves. So as doctors, we're just facilitators in communication with our patients, reminding them of their own ability to heal themselves. It says here, Holly is often thought of as a remedy for anger, but this isn't necessarily the case. In the box system, anger is a secondary emotion. We need to look at more closely the cause. Anger based on impatience needs another remedy, for example, as do those angers based on the feelings of personal unfairness, etc., etc. Holly is actually the remedy for feelings directed at others, feelings such as suspicion or envy. The basic problem is an absence of love, and the remedy works to encourage our generosity of spirit and an openness towards others. So you guys, the flower essences are so helpful because part of your healing is raising your level of awareness. and raising your level of awareness in these emotional messages is so powerful. And then, of course, receiving the frequency of the healing, which is what the genius is delivering, or what the remedy itself, taking the Bach flower remedy itself, is revealing. Let's get to some of your questions and talk about that. Okay, the nerve assessment guide is available for download. Go to my website, awakentotalhealth.com, and put into the search box nerve assessment, and you get the custom library and you get the handout. Okay, please send the Facebook address for the group. Again, the nerve assessment guide is available at awakentotalhealth.com, and we'll see if we can get that link to you. There are two of the Facebook groups that I run that I can send you today in the newsletter. I'll send you the addresses for those. I have been getting better about getting the newsletter out there, so we can include those in there. And can you use the nerve panels for craniosacral adjustments? Kelly, I don't know. You're capable of doing so many amazing things that you probably could use them. That's not their main. The main thing is to use the nerve as a vehicle towards different levels of healing that have to do with the related organs, glands, and muscles. Okay. Do you check the boxes on both sides of any issue or just the right-sided box? So Christopher, I know you have the mastery guide and you also have the videos, and I do apologize, those don't seem to be helping. You could also schedule a training with me, and I apologize for the confusion, but these left boxes we don't really use very often. They are related to the functional zone considerations, and often for the purposes of doing a demonstration or answering questions, we don't really do too much with these right here. Does it time the quick balance? Oh, that's exactly what it does, Mary Lee, thank you. Yeah, I think she's right. The quick balance is actually timed right here. So Candy, to go to your question, when you want to simply quick balance, which is going to include every item in red and every item in blue in the entire program, and you want to set the timer for quick balancing, then you adjust the timer with that yellow ball. Good one, and thank you. And Connie says it's for the quick balance. And Patricia says it's a quick timer, a balance. Thank you, guys. I knew you would know the answer for that, so thank you so much. Okay, so we have about 6 minutes left. You guys, any questions? So look for my email today. Yes, more information about the class coming up for the biofeedback practitioner and the awakening to intuitive eating class. So we're going to be, or awakening to intuitive nutrition class. We're going to be having those come up, and the biofeedback practitioner is going to be delayed for like a week. It was supposed to start this week, but it's going to start in about a week to a week and a half. So you have plenty of time to still get signed up for the biofeedback practitioner program. Okay, so those are really the big announcements of things coming up. And we do have a few more minutes, so any other questions? If you have a question that hasn't been answered about something, now's a good time to jump in. I want to just recap, you know, I posted the weather balancing webinar that we did, and we now have a Facebook group where you can request balancing in a certain area. So if you want us to balance as a group in a particular area of the country or send some type of healing to that area, you can request that, and that's another Facebook group that I will include in today's newsletter. But people sent me messages over the weekend. Kelly, thank you so much, and other people, Ruth, she's not with us today, she did. And I really feel that we were part of the healing that really averted some of the major catastrophes. You saw things shift and morph over the weekend, and maybe we weren't, maybe we were, but it certainly was nice to see the diminishment of the ferocity of that particular weather system. We are not separate from any of this. we are the hurricane. I've become more certain as we've done this balancing, right? We're the stars, we're the sun. We are, all of that consciousness. It's just that, we're not separate from any people on the planet. We're not separate from any weather events on the planet. So therefore, if that is true, we also are able to exert some level of transformation around that particular event. Any chance of distance course programs? Carol, we have those all the time. I haven't had a lot of live classes, but I am going to be having them come up. That's what's coming up in the biofeedback practitioner. They're going to be distance learning. You can attend the webinar and learn from anywhere. Maybe that's not what your question is. I'm not sure. So you guys, can you use the same approach as for the weather system for a person we all agree is in terrible crisis? Can you use the same approach as for a weather system as for a person we all agree is in a terrible crisis? I'm not really sure what the question is, but yeah, you can send energy to anyone if you have their permission to do so. So if you have your permission to send them energy, then absolutely. If they agree, I think a great way to promote the genius and yourself as a practitioner is to give free group sessions. So just invite a group of anyone you know. When we first started out as naturopathic doctors, some of the practitioners had ladies' tea parties where they would go to somebody's house and give a presentation with a whole group of that person's friends. So just invite someone and her girlfriends or group of friends and then just do a demonstration or a group healing. So you can heal or work with the entire group. And the greatest way to sell something is to appear you're not selling anything. So just going and educating people about the genius and giving away that free group healing is a way for people to become very engaged in what you're doing and ultimately ask for that personal engagement with you. Not just one, but ask the whole community to work on the same person with the person's permission. Yeah, do that as a group. You can do that. Okay. So you guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload our recording to YouTube and upload it to my website. You can go to awakentotalhealth.com and go to Genius Training at any time. See the latest training that I'm giving and see the latest free class that I've done. So go to awakentotalhealth.com, click on the menu that says Genius Training, and you're going to see the most recent YouTube videos and any other announcements regarding my training. So that's a really good place to go for those. But yeah, you can do what you do in a group training or a group healing is you take a picture of the entire group and then you can send healing to the entire group. And I know Carol did ask about just one person, but you can actually do a healing for an entire group, which is a great way to get people involved. And often people in a group, the fun thing with the group is if you take a picture and you have everybody record their voice, you could run things like the flower essences. And when you read that flower essence for the group, it is going to contain information that is actually relevant for the entire group. So you can read that, for example, rock water for the entire group, and every person in the group very likely has some connection to that particular issue, and so you can do that healing in a really powerful way. And it's a really great way for everybody to see how interconnected they are. It's really a fun thing to do. We've done that on occasion, but not for a long time in the classes. Maybe we'll do that next week where we actually record everybody's voice and we do a healing on everyone. That's probably a good idea to do that. All right, so we are at the end of the hour. I want to thank everyone, send you much blessings for lots of abundance, love, happiness, laughter in your week. And come back next week. Thanks so much for being a part of our Genius Insight support class, everyone. Have a great week. Take care and be well. Bye-bye for now.